All right, hello once again. This is Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College, and as part of the Rankin Technical College AWD, or Application and Website Development Program, and in particular the AWD 1111 .NET Framework with Web Databases class, I am creating a series of video presentations based on the book we're going to be using for the class for the fall 2019 semester, that being Pro ASP.NET MVC 5. It's an A-Press book by Adam Freeman. We're working our way through Chapter 11 of 27. And we're about to go into editing products. But before we do, just to show you, this is right now what our admin page looks like. All right? And to be honest with you, it looks just fine. We're about to add the functionality for edit on here. Okay, we'll also do the insert, and we'll also do the delete. And when you think about it, we're doing edit first, and I think the authors made a wise decision, because in many ways edit appears, at least in my humble opinion, to be probably the hardest one to implement. What do I mean? Well, for insert, if I click insert, all right, if these are, whatever I want to put in there for a new product, all right, we know what that stuff is. We looked at it before. I'm not going to go through it. But all I have to do is verify that any field that's required, that there's something there and it's of the right type. To delete, I may end up coming back and asking the user, hey, are you sure you want to delete this? All right. But if we don't, boom, it's just gone. Otherwise, if we ask them if they want to delete it and they say yes, it's deleted. And if they say no, it's not. But to do an edit can be the most complex of all, because there's a lot of things that, again, we're going to have to go back in, check, and if we change something in one file, does it affect something in another file? Especially when you work with databases. All right, if you change something in one database table, will it have a rippling effect on other tables? All right, so as we go in here, to create and update features, we're going to add a product editing page similar to the one shown in figure 11.1. Now that was back a ways. All right, so an editing page like this. All right, so that'll be our edit page. That'll be our add page when we get there, I guess. I don't know. We'll see. There are two parts to this job. Part 1, display a page that will allow the administrator to change values for the properties of a product. Part 2, add an action method that can process these changes when they are submitted. So the first thing, as it says right there, is to create an edit action method. All right. Figure 11.5, which is on page 283, shows the edit action method that was added to the admin controller. This is the action method specified to calls to the action link helper method in the index view. So, adding the edit action method in the admin controller. First, in fact, let's just grab all of it. We'll go to our admin controller, which doesn't have a whole heck of a lot in it right now. All right. All right. Now it has more in it. Okay, I got the word this in there. I don't know how I did that, but I did. All right, probably because I went too far down when I was copying from the book. And the next paragraph starts with, there it is. That's why I got it. This simple method finds the product with the ID that corresponds to the product ID parameter and passes it to the view model object of the view method. All right. Again, I'm skipping the unit test that's on pages 283 and 284. All right. Now, down towards the bottom here of page 284, under creating the edit view, Now that I have an action method, I can create a view for it to render. All right. Right-click on the Views admin. I don't know why he's doing it this way, but he is. Right-click on the Views admin folder and select Add, New Item. We want MVC5 View Page with Razor. From the menu, we're going to set the name to Edit. And I do know why the author is doing it that way. .cshtml. Click the button to create the file, and then edit the contents so that they match those on pages 284 and 285 of our text. Now the crux of it, I could leave it up here, but I am going to actually just show you it on here. The author says instead of writing out markup for each of the fields and inputs by hand, we're calling the HTML.editor for model helper method. This method asks the framework to create the editing interface for me, which it does by inspecting the model type. To see this in action, navigate, start the project and go to admin index, click one of the product links, and we should now see this. File, save all, admin, index. Let's view this in the browser. And they've clicked the human chessboard, so let's grab that one. Now, again, not very much done right here as far as making it look pretty. All right. So the author says, let's be honest here. The editor for model is convenient, but it does not produce the most attractive results. In addition, I don't want the administrator to be able to see or edit the product ID. And the text box for the description property is too small. We can give the MVC framework directions about how to create editors for properties by using model metadata, which allows us to apply attributes to the properties of the new model class to influence the output of the editor for model method. All right, so what do we want to do? We want to go into the product.cs file, so let's stop the run here. Leave that, we'll get rid of that one too. So let's find our product.cs file. Let's come in here and close this. Let's open up our domain. There under entities, there's our product.cs file. All right, so do a couple things here. Using system.componentModel.data annotations, using system.web.mvc. All right, that's the first thing shown on 285. Now here on 2, and this is great. I love the way the author does this. Believe me, this is not an easy textbook, but this guy knows what the heck he's doing. So we're going to come in here, and we're going to add an annotation that says hidden input display value equal false. We don't want to see it. All right, so we're going to do it for that one. And then we're going to go down to the description. No, we're not going to say the same thing, but it gives us a starting point. All right, so we don't want hidden input. We want data type here. All right, and we want this to say data type dot multi-line text. We don't need the rest of this. All right, so what we're telling the system is we want to be able to write multiple lines. That hidden attribute tells the MVC framework that it's going to be a hidden form element. In other words, don't show it. The hidden input element is part of the system.web.mvc namespace, which is why we needed to add this. And the data type attribute is part of the data annotations. So this was for here, and this was for here. Figure 11.5 shows what happens after the metadata has been applied. What does that mean? That means let's do another file save all. Let's go back to our UI, and let's go back to our index. Admin, let me close a couple of the rest of these here. Just again to make it a little easier for us to iterate our way around. And let's view it in the browser. And what we should see now is that we no longer have the customer ID, and we've got a scroll bar so we can put multiple input in. So what was it before? Human chessboard. All right, so the ID is gone. The description, it's not the way they show it. This looks like a text box. All right, just want to make sure. I want to go back, double check, and make sure I set that up correctly in my code. So for the description, data type dot multi-line text. Well, that's the way they showed in there. All right. The problem here they mention is that the HTML.EditorForModel helper doesn't know anything about the product class and generates some basic safe HTML. There are 3 ways that we can deal with this. The first is to define CSS styles for the content and helper that the helper generates. All right, it says if you look on the source for figure 11.6, did I leave that up there or did I close it? Of course I closed it. They mention here, it says you will see a text area. Boy, this is some ugly HTML. All right, but you see the text area. It has been created and been assigned basically a multi-line class somewhere in here. All right, text box equal multi-line right there. Okay, and the author mentions here other HTML elements are assigned similar classes, and you can create styles for each of them. This approach works well when you're creating custom styles, but it doesn't play all that nicely with Bootstrap. All right. The second approach is to provide the helper with templates that it can use to generate the elements, including the styling that's required. We go through this in Chapter 22. Finally, the third way is to create the elements needed directly without using the model level helper method. The author says, I like the idea of the model helper, but I rarely use it, preferring to create it myself. So we want to update the edit.cshtml file so that it looks more along the lines of what you see on page 287. So let's remove that, remove this, go to page 287. Let's grab all of this. Again, I'm making it smaller so I can see all of it in one crack if it's on one page. Copy this to the clipboard. All right. Come back here. This is our edit.cshtml file. This one. All right. So those are the changes as shown on page 287. This is a variation of the metadata technique used in Chapter 9, something the author finds himself doing very often. The key takeaway from here is this. If you want control over the look and feel, you're going to have to take some control. You can use the built-in tools, but in many ways they're very bland, they're very generic. They don't allow you to do a whole heck of a lot. So let's come in here and do our file. Let's do a save all. Let's go back to our index page and view it in the browser. And then we will click. We're at 17 minutes, so what was it? The human chessboard. Oh. And it says an expression tree may not contain a dynamic expression. Good place to stop. We'll pick it up with this error on the next lesson.